Hello everyone, today we got to play Legacies. So this one was a discovery at Origins. So we're super excited that we got to play it. Before we get started though, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are awesome. And that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Rob, can you tell us a little bit more about Legacies?
I certainly can. So Legacies came out in 2022, so it's a brand new game published by Birdman Games. It plays 1 to 6 players. Now the playtime states 90 to 180 minutes. Our game was quite a bit longer. Now granted, it was a learning game and had to eat and got kids and all that stuff. But
well, I think also we played with Randy.
There's that too.
I don't believe I was the one that slowed us down.
I will own some of it because I was cooking.
And there were times where you forgot it was your turn, or...
And then you got annoyed when I kept asking if it was my turn. So there's that. No, but
it
anyway,
might be accurate, but we couldn't tell from this playthrough. So designed by Jason Brooks, art by James Churchill and Yoma. Now there's a couple different price sets. So the standard version, which this is not, is $79. It's only available on the Brooks Spun website. Now Geek Market, I had a couple of versions, the Kickstarter versions, $129 to $160.
All right, so let's talk about quality of components. Guys, the coins. Oh my gosh, the coins. They like legit coins. They have different backs with different people's faces on them with a slogan. They have a date. I mean, this is just freaking awesome. And then when you get to the super big things, you actually get bars of gold. Okay, so no matter what, this is awesome.
Beautiful.
All right, then
caught our eye at Origins.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, this is what caught our eye. But then the overlay boards for personal and all that, I mean, just absolutely fantastic. The card quality, the linen finish is really great. The storage devices, all the pieces are screen printed on both sides. I mean, this stuff's legit.
Yeah, I mean, the board is bowing on each end from the inlay, which is not good. But apart from that, everything is pretty well done. I love that everything is linen finished. I love that the pieces are all screen printed and shaped.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
a lot of love on it.
Yes, very well made.
Very well made.
Yes. Now this is what we're talking about.
Now we do have I purchased the add-on of the neoprene mat for this,
mm-hmm.
which replaces the board. We went ahead and used the board for the first playthrough because of the inlays to see how it played. But we have the option of choosing to use the playmat,
which has got space for all the cards.
But I'm not sure.
Well, the playmat adds space for the cards, but it's kind of cool because this is the daytime, and the playmat gives you nighttime. But not only that, because they did a different style of art, they replaced all the locations with nighttime versions of the locations. There's no difference that I could see other than the fact that they're nighttime. So they match the player mat.
So if you're a vampire, you can play on the night side.
Hey,
yep.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So no, overall quality components, I can't imagine anything they could do better. I'm giving this a 10 on this sucker. What about you guys?
I'm going to give it a 9.5 just because the board's bowed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's I would have given it a 10 if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same here.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic quality here. All right, so let's talk about theme. You are the beginning of a line of great families who are trying to build and establish their dominance through wealth and relationship power.
Over 300 years.
Over 300 years, man.
And it did take 5 hours to play the game, so I can see that.
But totally legit. Like I liked the theme. I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you have your different generations that come up, that they have special abilities or whatever that makes them super cool. The fact that your family has some sway, like I just thought there was a lot of cool things that happened. You have these stocks and bonds, and I thought that the theme was really, really great. I really enjoyed it for an economic game. I really appreciated it. What are your guys' thoughts on theme?
Thematically, I think it was really neat. I think all the mechanics, which we'll get to in gameplay, but it fits with the theme. So, you got your generations, you got successors for those generations, which was a really neat theme that I liked a lot. You got the ability to build friendships amongst different families, which is kind of neat. And then there's a business side of it too, that how you support your family. So thematically, I think it fit really well with each other.
Yeah, and I also love the art. I think they did a
Oh yeah,
really good
the
job.
art's very good.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. The only thing that did bother me was the math of it, because you're doing 300 years, 2 generations per 100 years. That means they had a child when they were 50, and the next
No.
child lived and had a child when they were 50. So, yeah, mathematically, you would have more than 2 generations in 100 years. You would have like 3 or 4 at least.
Well,
So,
okay.
but apart from that, I like the.
Come on, Randy.
It didn't mathematically fit for me.
But I don't think this game could handle any more rounds, to be quite honest with you. Let it go. Let it go. You had a useless nobody in the middle, okay? Like, all right. No, but overall score-wise, what are you guys thinking?
I think I'm at 8. It's a solid theme. It didn't blow me out of the water, but I think it fit and it was nice, and I like it.
Yeah.
I give it an 8.
Okay, what about you, Randy?
I think theme is art. Theme also is how it in the gameplay is interwoven within
Yeah.
it. I think that definitely the whole gist of this game is interwoven in that theme of Legacies, from obviously the name of it. So I think I'm probably a 9 on theme.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you in the fact that there was nothing like bam,
Right.
like we get some really good ones with the RPG, like the story, whatever. But I do think that this was a solid game, and I agree with you. Everything is streamlined. So I'm going to go in the middle because I agree with both of you. 8.5.
Okay.
So, all right. So now let's talk about the rule book.
So this is where it suffers a little bit. So the rule book is 7 pages, got a nice cover, matches the box.
Mm-hmm.
And the back has kind of some of the key elements and I would rather have iconography, but instead it's kind of got the chain of connections, which you really don't need because it's right on the board.
Yeah.
So I think they could have chosen a little bit better on what to put on the back cover. They have cheat sheets, if you want to call them that. The cards are so small, and the print is so
it's
tiny.
business card size.
Yeah.
But
and they're tiles,
it's
so
cardboard.
They're tiles.
They're tiles, but
But the print is tiny.
it is very tiny.
So, I mean, without
You guys-
glasses, I'm up here to read it. With my glasses, I'm about right here. I can read it okay.
Well, I actually didn't have a problem with the font size, but that's because I'm young. Compared to you old boys.
So
You'd have to go there. But
So the rule book has a lot of nice art pictures in it to make it very easy to see for setup. Where it suffered was I think it assumed certain things. Like, for example, that you would create a tableau for drawing your cards from, but it didn't really reference when you got to draw cards from it. Nor did it say, do you
If you
backfill
backfill or
them
not, yeah.
when you take them.
we
There was-
assumed you did.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of things like that you just had to infer and just assume. And, it should have been explicitly stated in there, and that would have made this rulebook probably even thicker. But, I mean, there's not, the actual gameplay of it is pretty simple, but the strategy and just all of the different options in it, there's a lot to it when
Yeah.
you get into each individual action on the cards that you can take. And we had to keep referencing the rulebook a lot because it was pretty in depth. But also, there were things that were just not in there that we just went ahead and it's like, yeah, it seems like that's what you should do. So, given that, I can't say that this is the best rulebook. I'm probably going to give it probably a 5. I'll give it a 5.5 because it does have a lot of nice art and referencing and how to set it up. A lot of good pictures, show illustrations.
But, it was playable. So
It was definitely playable. I mean, 5 is average.
Yeah.
So it's slightly above
and
average.
it did put me to sleep.
No.
So you should give it a bonus point.
Well, I didn't read it verbatim. I read
That's true.
some of
I
it.
might have went to sleep if you had read it.
Yeah. I mean, I read it last night when I was tired, and I was still able to understand most of it. But yeah, it made more sense as you got it out and actually had the.
Yeah,
the
I
bits in front
honestly,
of
you were talking, and I was like, "You're saying words. I'm listening to the words, but I
And,
don't
and
understand."
how is that different from any other game?
Well,
we've ever
normally I
played?
just don't listen.
Oh,
I actually tried to engage on this because I was super excited about this game, and I knew it was complicated, but it just didn't connect until we started playing. All right, so, but I mean, now let's talk about gameplay. All right, so gameplay. This game is pretty heavy or crunchy. So before we're just going to go over a brief overview. If you would like a full rule explanation, comment down below. Maybe we'll put time in and actually create the how-to. Okay. So now
Right.
you're saying that it's not heavy.
I didn't say it's not heavy. I think it's medium to heavy. I don't think it's heavy. This is not a game like an 18X.
No.
No.
But I think that, and you've used the reference before, but I think this one in particular is more apt. I think this felt like a Lacerda game, because with a Lacerda game, you have 3 options, and that's it. But each option, there's a lot of depth to each option. And that's what I felt in this game. So when you look at it, it looks overwhelming, I think, initially. And then when you really get into the playthrough, we had a hard time figuring out what are we going to do. We don't know which direction to go.
What makes sense? Yeah.
And so I think that's what gives the game its weight. But to Randy's point, I think that once we got halfway through it, we kind of fleshed it out. We felt good about it, and we were able to kind of truck along. But medium to heavy, I think is accurate. But I think it's closer to the heavy than the medium side.
Yes. So. And due to that, we're not going to go into all the rules, so we're going to do a brief explanation of kind of some of the mechanics that are involved. All right, so at the beginning of the round, you're going to get 3 of the era cards, so each era there's a little bit different, and these are going to be your main starting actions, if you will. You have to play 2 cards before you can be able to play the tiles that are kind of, what is it, universal action?
They're very Puerto Rico-esque. Yeah. They have an action, and you trigger it, and you get a better perk than everyone else at the table.
Correct.
When you choose it.
And I do think that those better perks were actually pretty balanced, because with Puerto Rico, you still don't produce. Like, there's some things where this one, I felt all of those were pretty evenly balanced. The one thing that we never did do, though, is generate heirloom fame.
Well, that's
we'll get there.
Into the game.
We'll get in there. All right, so basically I have these 3 cards. I have to at least play 2 of them before I can trigger any of these global actions. So that helps with those first 2 actions being restricted to the 3 cards that you have. Now, if you'll notice that there are 3 different segments to the card. You pick any of those 3 actions. Now,
there's more than 3. There's the ones at the bottom, too.
Yeah, there's multiple on the bottom row.
There's 3 sections. Yes, there's multiple on the bottom row. So to cover the bottom row real quick, you can explore the city, which basically allows you to possibly get new...
basically trade a card. You use that card to get a new card.
Or you can get some money, you can get...
But then the other thing is you can get another successor from the one that you got at the beginning of the round, because sometimes they suck. So you may want to shuffle through and get something better, or that suits you a little bit better. All right. Another one is you can actually get resources. Now, those resources straight up. So it's literally play the card, get the resources. That's it. And then the other one is you can get your heirloom card once you have enough coin or resources to be able to purchase that. Now, what are heirloom cards? Okay, so the heirloom cards, basically, they start out from level 0 all the way to level 6. All with different price points. And basically, as you gain them, you're going to increase your overall income. So every card that you successfully have completed, so if I have 4 cards completed, 4 times the number that my stock value's worth.
But it's income if you take that global action.
Yes.
So if no one takes it, then you don't get it.
And
correct.
These cards are specific to the player board.
Yes.
So there's 10 player boards in the game. It's a 6-player game max. So there's going to be some players that are not, some characters are not in the game. But you've got a set that's specific to your player.
Yeah, correct. All right. And there is a way to steal from other people, but we won't get into that. All right. So then there are 2 other actions. Now, some of these actions will consist of make a relationship, right? So you're going into these different locations or, I guess, entities, really, because if you're talking about relations.
Because it's like businesses.
It's locations on the board, but they're relationships with people, right? Because I'm technically on the board with this person. So you're going to, but you can't make a relationship with yourself. So don't try to go to your own board. Or your own location. Okay, but you can go to another location and get the benefits at that location. And if you don't put any effort into your relationship, obviously it goes down the relationship track and the values are a little bit more. But basically it's like income over the course of each round if the global action has to be taken. So you're fine there. But so that's what happens there. All right. Then you have buy, sell, and invest. So there is a stock market, guys, and you can buy and sell. And depending on that buy and sell, you can lower or increase the value of those stocks. There are other special abilities or special cards that let you take things up, take things down on this board. And so, but you can only place 1, 5, and 1, 2 at any given other location. So this inner circle are the stock market choices.
And those represent the number of shares that you're acquiring. So you whatever the price is going at the time you buy, you're gonna pay 5 or 2 times that price in order to get your shares, and your market will be affected by 1 or 2 steps, depending on whether you bought 2 or 5.
And in of itself, you don't really notice it, but in other global actions, you get paid dividends. So wherever your stock shares are at, could be quite substantial on how much money you.
Oh yes, you guys were kicking my butt on money from stocks the entire game.
Yep, that was the point. Okay.
He still won though.
Yeah, because he never let me take a turn. All right, the next thing you could do is take an opportunity. So that opportunity is just different. So this one's gain 3 fame. Other ones are you can sell investments, buy investments. There's a bunch of different things. Literally just read what the print is. And that's kind of what that looks like. All right, so those are kind of the card actions. Once you play a card, you can only take one of those actions, so you're going to choose it, right? So there's a lot of variability in that. And then goes around, you pay 2 cards, and then you get to actually go to the global actions. Now, there are 2 red tiles. Those are mandatory. The game cannot end until those have been completed, okay? But you also have to get 3 of the...
Well, it depends on player count.
Okay.
But with 3 players, it's 3.
All right, so you have to get 3 of these tiles also done. So just because you quickly do the 3 red, you still have to do at least 3 of the blue for the game to trigger. Once the end of the round triggers, it's the end of the round. There is a consolation prize for those that didn't get to do a full playthrough. So so if Randy was first player, he went out, we would get a bonus benefit. It wasn't fantastic.
No, but it's a little something, and it increases each era. So each era, it's a little bit better.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not bad. It's just
not great.
I would have liked my actions. All right, so there's that. All right, then, so let's talk about some of these actions. So host a trade conference. I'm sad we discovered this so kind of late in the game.
It's kind of it's an interesting element.
And I think it would be better actually with more people, because then you would have more bidding, more fight.
Right.
Because with 3 players, there's 3 different columns with 3 different resources. Each one could go to a single one and pay minimal to get the thing, right?
What's interesting about it, though, is you get to choose, as the person taking the tile, what currency you're going to use. Are you going to use money? Are you going to use fame points? Are you going to use the foundation investment money that you've put in? Or are you going to use...
That's it.
Is that it? Just those 3?
So I thought it was money, foundation, or fame.
Yeah.
You can use fame.
Or resources.
And resources.
Yeah. And then from that, you can invest and basically put how much you're going to pay and set it basically kind of a auction off where you're going to try to bid for the other 3.
Right.
So it's kind of a trading mechanism, but you get, as taking the tile, you get first dibs. And then you're also the last person to bid, so you can adjust your bid up. You can not go down, but you can go up or sideways to another resource.
And I thought another interesting thing is that there's 3 places, so you technically won't lose out, even if you lose the bid. You may not get as much as you wanted, but you're still going to get something.
Right. So I thought that was great. And again, with more players, this could be a little more.
Yeah, I mean, you go up to 4 or 5 people, that might change completely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. This game, I think will play very different at 6 players than it will at 3, and I think it will tighten things up quite significantly.
The other big difference is the player boards are 2-sided, so they look kind of like an L shape, and you can flip them over, and they call this the above board side, where everything is kind of friendly. There were still some attack cards in the game, but your board itself, the actions were all kind of self-beneficial.
Right.
You flip it over the other side, and that's not the case. There it's underhanded. And when you play there, you got a lot of attacks. You get better benefits,
you can
but
steal
you have
money,
to do something to attack
resource.
another player.
You can steal stuff, block them. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there.
Yeah. All right, so the next action that you can take is collect dividends. We kind of already talked about that already. And it's based basically on the bags that you have in this inner circle based on the location of their stocks. You'll go here and that will tell you how much you make. The benefit of choosing that is you get double the dividend thing. So it's actually pretty substantial if you've got really good stock going on. All right, the next thing is contributing to your foundation. So basically you can take your gold and put it into your foundation. Now, the thing is typically at the end of the game, 100 money outside of your foundation is 1 victory point. However, if you get it into your foundation, every 25 money is a victory point, okay? So it's basically, you're putting in a trust fund, okay? Is the way I feel like. It was like, all right, it's going into my trust fund or my foundation where I can really show a legacy, right? So I thought that was a really interesting and cool thing. I did not realize the importance of it until later on, but at that point, well, because you're trading, like if you do it early in the game, if you do that trading, you're taking the money out of your system for you to be able to use to do stuff, which can generate more money. So there's a balancing act, because I was dead broke the first 2 rounds. I was like, I spent every penny. Like literally, I had no money going into the next round. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Influence industry. So basically you can, this action allows you to take one of your stocks that you have influence to go up the track. If you're the one that take it, you get to take 2. Generate heirloom frame. We never did this.
Because there's an element to the game where you can actually buy, but take someone else's heirloom from them.
Yes.
And then put it under your control. Yeah. Now, granted, they can do the same thing to you.
Right, because you can only have 1 of each level, and there's 6 levels. You start with level 0, so there's 7 technically, but everybody has a level 0. But you can acquire an heirloom of level 1 through level 6 of anybody's. It doesn't have to be yours. The ones that are yours will generate income for you whenever the income is triggered, as one of the optional actions you can take with the tiles. But if you choose to take someone else's, it's fame points, not money. And you can then generate those as income by triggering that tile, which we never did because we never took anybody's.
Because we played a nice game, because Randy knew he'd make me mad. No, this is an economic builder, leave me alone. All right. And then generate heirloom income. So again, so
there's 2 of those.
Yeah. So there's with money. This one's talking about money. So the number of heirlooms I have completed times the value of the stock right on this side. That's how much it costs. All right. The 2 mandatory actions. One is advance relationships and collect benefits. Okay. So over the course, like I said, those cards actions, you were allowed to place relationship tokens, which are basically these little handshakes. You go over here. So when you play the relationship, you put it down, you get the prize then. But when this action is triggered, you will move it down and get the prize underneath it, right? And so over the course of the rounds, your relationship will slowly disintegrate and you will eventually come back off the board. But every round you do get an income for that. So that's another way of generating wealth, resources, and victory points.
An interesting element of that though is that you can bump each other. Yeah. And so if Randy was here and I bumped him down, he would not get the benefit if I bumped him. You only get the benefit.
Bumped. Right. You just get the next lower one when you generate it.
But if I move you, you don't get that benefit. So now if I do, because I placed it, but if I move you down and it wasn't your action that moved it, you don't.
Well, I won't get the one that would have been the next one up. I get the one next one down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can accelerate your bumping, especially if several people take that same action. You keep getting bumped.
Yeah, so that's the one. Now, if you are the one to trigger this, you actually get to take the benefit at one of the locations, and then you get to trigger it again after the movement. So, basically,
you're at, and then the next level.
Now, there are cards that actually let you improve your status and move up, and this is another one of the holes that was in the rules.
Yeah.
Because it didn't say, well, what if somebody's there and you bump them? What happens? Because if you're moving back up, you could run into somebody too. So there's things like that were not explained in the rules.
Yeah. All right. So then the next, resolve current event. So basically, there are event cards. And whoever does that actually gets to decide on which event, because each card has 2, which event they're going to complete. So overall, that is a very basic overall overview of the game.
Well, one thing I think you left out that I think was very important for my victory in this game is you can control the pace of the round because of the fact that those 2 actions and the 3 actions have to be there. There's cards that sometimes, like I had a card that shut down 2 of the blue actions and could have immediately ended the round depending on which of the the mandatory ones were. And you can kind of play the other players. And you don't have to play tiles. You can still play cards from your hand.
Yeah, if you're able to draw more cards, then you can.
Yeah,
you don't even have to go to the tiles
because you get 3 cards automatically. So you could play 2 cards and then start drawing tiles or playing tiles. And if everybody's playing tiles, you can go back and play your card again, or you could play one. You could have gotten more cards during the course.
Yeah,
of the game.
I mean, there was 2 different rounds where I didn't play any tiles at all. I played cards because I was able to. Keep drawing cards and doing things like that. But the problem is Randy over here kept rushing the rounds. He
almost
knew.
like he was doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have very much invested in the stock market, and I knew that if I left those options out there on the table, so there was twice that I took away your ability to get dividends because once I shut it down. And another time I ended the round before you got a chance to do it.
Well, to be fair, we made more money at the generate heirloom income too.
Later on, yeah. Once you all start catching up with me on the heirlooms, because I was running away with the heirlooms because that was what my character was all about, was heirlooms. But as a result, I ended up lower on the stock market. So by the end, you guys were outpacing me money everywhere.
Yeah, so it was in your best interest to end the game as quickly as possible. Which pooey on him. So
I agree.
Anyway, so yeah, there is a timing mechanism that to do this. Do you allow the other players to play, or do you take the opportunity to build yourself? Now, there was at one point in the game where I was like, I literally have nothing to do, so I do want to end this round because I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a little bit of that too. You don't want people to continue when they still have stuff to do.
Right. And there's also 2 types of bonuses. There's the end of era bonuses, which happen after every 2 generations for the 300 years. And then there's the end of game bonuses. And I thought that was a neat mechanic where at the end of the round, whoever's furthest back on the fame chart gets to pick, and based upon the event that triggered, the tile that goes out. So it could be an end of era one, or it could be an end of game one. And so you could choose kind of which was most advantageous for you. And that helped me a lot because I was able to put the tiles out that were most beneficial. Now, granted, most of the tiles ended up in play anyway. There was only a handful that were left out of the game by the end of the game. So I don't know if it was as advantageous as it seems because all the tiles were there. It's not like there were additional ones you could sub in and out. There were a lot of subs for like the extra events because you only play with 2, but there's a ton of events.
Well, that might be a good.
And there's a ton of characters.
That might be good expansion territories, adding more of those tiles.
Yeah, the bonuses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the fact that the events there's so many events there. There's so many cards in each era we didn't play.
There's so many people.
There's so many people. There's so many.
There's a lot of playability.
Your successors. There's tons of them.
There's a lot of variety.
We didn't make it through any of the decks. So I think there's a lot of variability in this game that you're going to see different. This is going to feel different every time you play.
Yeah.
And even though there's some luck, there's a lot of mitigation to the luck too. So I mean, it's there, but it's not really bad.
Now, I will say I was last player every single round, which was lame.
Well, that is because you chose not to invest in piggies.
That's because I needed the money to actually
Which is foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is foundation. But I was dead heap in the middle. So luckily with the benefits that they do give you a little bit of benefit, like if you don't get to play that, you don't get to play your round, then there's those benefits. So I think they did there was a lot of thought. I think they did very, very well implementing all of these together. I think it ran very, very smoothly. Because sometimes when you get these heavier games, they don't run very smooth.
Well, it's very fleshed out.
Yeah.
I really think
do not think that was the case with this one. I think this is fleshed out. I think it's good. I think it is a good economic. It's got a little bit of crunch to it, but yet it's, you got your cards and you move on. Like it's really good flow here. I'm really liking it. So for me, I think I'm at a 9. Like, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was good, but this is definitely totally my theme. Now, I do want to caveat, this game is going to play very different at 6 players. The tension is going to be a lot higher, but I almost think that would give it more fun. So I would love to play this at 6 because I think there's a lot of opportunity to see how tense this gets.
Yeah, my only concern with the more players is we ran out of money towards the end with you guys generating as much as you were generating.
Yeah, so but we won't be able to get as much done.
Potentially, that's true. We don't know really. So we could run into a situation where we run out of money, which would be bad. So I might have to end up ordering some additional money if you can. So yeah, that was one thing.
Which kind of blows your mind because when you look at it, there's a lot of money.
Well, when we started the game out, it was like we're getting 1s and 2s, and we're like this is good, because we started the game. I think I had like 8 money, and each player has their own variable amount of starting stuff. But you start the game with such, but when you look at the board, it's got thousands, and it's like okay, this
it'll be really interesting to see how to play this game to get 3,600 foundation points.
It's a goal. It's a life goal now.
I'm telling you, that just...
So what are your guys' score, though? I gave mine. What are your guys' scores?
I'm reluctant to give it a 9 on first play. I'm probably an 8.5. I think it was really good. The rule book being with its holes that it had, that hurts for me. And I do think it's going to be fun and variable, enough a lot of variety. I'm just concerned that not that the gameplay is going to be the same. The strategies are going to probably vary as far as who can win. I think it doesn't have a problem where it's going to feel samey. I just think it's going to maybe get a little dry.
I think when you add more players, I think the dryness will eliminate because I think there's going to be a lot more. Plus, I think if you want to go on the attack side.
I would love to play the attack.
That's going to be my point, is that I think that it would feel samey on the friendly side, but when you get over to the underhanded side, I just think this game will really
and you don't all have to. That was the other thing. There are actually cards that benefit differently if you're on the underhanded versus on the above board side. So you can have like person X is doing above board and person Y is doing underhanded, and so you can mix it all match with that. And I thought that was really cool.
I think it's really cool. And so so what was your score? You said 8.5?
Yeah.
I think I'm an 8.5 too, but I liked it enough that I'm really interested in getting it myself. I'd like to. I think it's got so much meat to it that it deserves multiple playthroughs, and I think it will reward you for playing multiple.
I can't believe I never heard of it. I mean, that was the thing. I was floored. I never heard of this game.
No, I know. We walked by, we saw like this beautiful game, and we're like, "What is this game?"
It was the centerpiece of the booth. The booth we were at, it wasn't
game manufacturer. It was game manufacturing booth.
It wasn't for sale.
Yeah,
and so immediately I researching it on the web, and I ended up ordering it before I left.
Well, have we even heard of this Brooksman game?
I think it's their first game.
I've not heard of Brooks Fun, but I'm impressed with what they've done.
Yeah, I want to see what eventually comes out. So, and hopefully, maybe we can, if they've got another one up in the line, I would love to be able to play something.
Plus, for this, I believe this is their first game, but for this to be
as good as it is,
to be as good as it is, and as heavy as it is, because it's not easy to make a heavy game,
right?
And to take because it's one thing if you start out small and you build when you first do your first Kickstarter or whatever, and you release something that's got some basic rules, but this is like jumping into the deep end. And they did it very well.
They did a great job.
But yeah, I give it 8.5. I'm really impressed. I'm thinking about getting it. I like it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had a blast today playing this kind of surprise game that we ended up learning about at Origins. And by learning, we just literally saw the board. But it's been fantastic to be able to discover all these cool games. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Hopefully, you'll come join us again. See you guys.
Bye.